Vincenzo's Gold Crypto Investing this September the 12th, 2025. Late night cryptocurrency and blockchain technology update. And I got interrupted earlier today on my lunch break. Work interrupted in the video, got cut short, but we were talking about and stressing the importance and the time sensitive and valuable thing that you need. And the reason you should become members of Jabroni Killers, the reason you should join the movement, the reason you should join the channel, the reason you should join this education and information and becoming an asset millionaire is because I cannot stress this enough. I've been trying to stress it, but obviously not enough since I've come on board that we are in a chronic dollar depreciating world, meaning the United States government is going to devalue your currency, your fiat money. They will continually debase it, and over time, it'll exacerbate and chronically excel in the debasement and the devaluing of your dollar. Right. And it's very critical you understand this because the only way to become wealthy in America is to steadily use your income, your job, the place where you generate your money, and use that to live below your means, but provide for your family and take that excess money and investing it into things you understand. Because if you invest in things you understand, it'll give you the confidence needed to execute a long-term game plan in the steady investing to reap the rewards, to get the capital appreciation from an asset going up as the US dollar or the paper money is tragically devalued year over year. And it's very important you understand this. And it's the reason that gold bullion is at an all-time high. It closed the week at $3,643, $143 above our April of 2020 target for gold bullion. That's right, target for gold bullion. Old Vincenzo had in April, that's right, of 2020. And when gold bullion was sitting at $1,660 and change, we had a $3,500 target. Gold now is sitting at 3,600 and change. And you can see what we used with not just our education, which is most important, and who'd we get educated by? Who taught us about dollar devaluation, chronic inflation, monetary and fiscal disaster, the policies and the way we're running things? Does the schools teach me that? No. The college teach me this? Absolutely not. The independent thinkers of our time, Milton Friedman taught me this. Peter Schiff taught me this. Read their books. Jim Rickards taught me this. Rich Dad, Poor Dad, or Robert A.K.A. Kiyosaki taught me the importance of the difference of real money versus currency and fiat, right? And once I understood this, it started to really get me into the ball game. And we can't forget the most controversial, uh, what's his name? My man, stay out of debt, right? Got to stay out of debt. You got to live below your means, and you got to have the cash to invest. And his name would be Dave Ramsey, right? He says to stay out of debt, and to be in debt is to be a slave to the lender, which is very true and very applicable. And the reason you don't want to be in debt is because then your money is being sent out and spent before you even get it each week, right? And it's not good. And debt is high risk, and high risk leads to problems, and problems happen when things must go right. And if anything goes wrong, the whole thing implodes. And that is a very big problem. And that's what you do not want to do when you're trying to become an asset millionaire. But the reason we're looking at the gold chart is we show this gold chart right here. You see me zoom in here, and I cannot stress this enough. $3.99 a month, as cheap as that, to support this channel and movement to become asset millionaires together, right there in that circle in April and May of 2020, right? There's March, there's April, May, and all the way into June of 2020. June 1699, May 1702, May 1690, April 1684, April 1675, April 1666, right? That is when we made the call. And the call was by not only the chart and the technicals. No, 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 no. Because chart and technicals can only give you so much. The overall fundamentals and the overall economy and what's going on in the actual world trumps all of this. And we understood the chronic dollar devaluation. We understood, even though I was young, when we had the tech boom, the tech bubble, and all that that happened back here in the late 90s going into 2000. We understood that as an adult, educating ourselves in the after the fact, educating on the past, right? We understood what took place after 9/11. We understood that the United States government started monetizing debt, started quantitative easing, is what they called it at the time, which was QE infinity, as Peter Schiff coined it back then, and started an epic gold rally as they were drastically and historically debasing the United States dollar, right? And gold ran from, and you can put any asset is the same thing, from $255 all the way up to $1,974 or thereabouts. And that formed a 13-year bear market after this run, and that was your neckline. And then you formed the rounding bottom was a cup. And then you got in COVID 2020 of August, a new all-time high, but establishing the neckline. And then we showed you as this handle right there was developing. This was a cup and handle we identified in this red circle, and that targeted move gave us $3,538, right? And now you can see where we're at. We are clearly above that. We're at 3,600 and change today. We closed at 3643. Silver bullion, same thing with the fundamentals of the chronic dollar depreciation. You can see where we're at in the silver bullion, and I cannot stress this enough because this is the next great generational wealth transfer. Look at the silver bullion. We had in the same thing, the financial crisis, we came up in this big run up, had the rounding bottom, formed the cup, came up almost right now to the new all-time high, forms the cup, and then we're likely to form a handle right on the consolidation. And then the breakout brings us to 75 to 100, $200 target. $200 seems extreme, but I think by the end of next year or at the beginning of 2027, we're going to be between 75 and $100. And remember, Vincenzo's Gold Crypto Investing called for $50 silver way back here. Can you believe this? All the way back just after you can see the big capitulation and the COVID crunch, the COVID crash, the COVID dump, as some would call it, post COVID dump, right there in the blue circle. We will re identify this right into this blue circle, right there. Bam. We called between 16 and 17.50 an ounce of silver. We called for $50 an ounce. And you can see 4.5 years short later, we're almost up to $49 a share. We're going to 50, then we're going to 75, and eventually we will be at $100 silver. And I know I'm not talking about crypto, but I'm trying to educate you on how to become an asset millionaire, right? The B2 gold will be at $15. The Kinross gold was at $3 when we were talking about it and said it was going to 32, its all-time high. It's now at 23. First Majestic silver was at $3.50, $4. We said it was going to 23, its all-time high. It's now at 10. Right? Fortuna silver was at 228 when we bought our first 200 shares. We said it was going to 15. It's now at 835. Pan America silver, $17 we're in. It's now 36.68. We said it was going to 50, then potentially 100. Rivian, Barrick Gold, Hecla, they're all up. All right. We're trying to educate you on this. We're trying to keep you to understand what dollar depreciation is. And if you have a dollar, if you're a classic car, and I'm speaking to my classic car people out here for an analogy, if you buy a 1960 classic car, no matter Ford, Chevy, GM, I don't care what the brand is, you have two things, two coins, $2. One's a dollar, a silver dollar, right? Silver bullion coin that we used to use back there in the 1960s, right? $1 of nominal value because it was 1 ounce of silver worth $1. Then you had a $1 note under a seat sitting there from 1960. You buy it in 2025. How many gallons of gas can you get for that original dollar? Gas is $3.25. You can get one third of a gallon. How many gallons of gas can you get for that $1 silver coin, the $1 coin, right? You can get $42 divided by three, right? That's how much purchasing power you've lost in fiat currency versus real money. Until you understand that, you're lost. You're playing a game that you don't understand the rules to, right? The U.S. fully left the Bretton Woods gold standard in 1971. Nixon entered dollar convertibility into gold. Since then, the value of the US dollar has been measured by purchasing power. How much goods and services can it buy? Dollar depreciation since 1971, a critical thing old Vincenzo here is trying to educate you on. Using consumer price index CPI, which is manipulated to be not as bad and to be as harsh and to show the full truth in order to protect the United States government, at least in my own personal opinion. Labor statistics since 1971, about 40.5. CPI in 2025, 310, latest available estimates. That means the prices are 7.65% times higher today than 1971. That's a almost an 8 times increase or 800% increase in prices or loss in purchasing power. That dollar has lost 87% of its value since 1971, right? That's how we get over 95% since 1960. Average yearly depreciation, average annual depreciation, there's your calculation. This comes out to about 3.9% per year. You're losing a purchasing power. And they like to tell you on the media during this last election that inflation went crazy and it was at a 3 decade high at a cumulative almost 30% over 4 years. But at the end of the term, it was down to only 2.9%. Okay, so it went up 2.9% its last year. That's like saying I gained 100 pounds over 4 years, but this year I only gained 3 pounds. So everything's all right. No, you still gained 103 pounds. You haven't lost any of the prior inflation or any of the prior weight, right? Since leaving the gold standard in 1971, the US has depreciated by about 3.9% on average, losing about 87% of its purchasing power in 54 years. That is why your house is more expensive. That is why your corn is more expensive. That is why your car is more expensive. That is why your water, your heat, your energy, your steak, your eggs, your chicken, your corn are more expensive. It's because your government has went rogue. Your government has mortgaged your future for current pleasure to keep them in political favor and to hide what's really going on. They are the only people that can devalue. They are the only people that can create inflation is a local government. The United States government here, they print, they manipulate rates. They buy long-term treasuries to lower yields, which messes everything up, right? And I've filibustered too long. We'll get into briefly the Bitcoin price because this video has got to be very, very long right now. But I felt this was very important because I've given you technical analysis today, and that's not going to change from 6 hours ago. But I feel, and that's the reason we're here to become asset millionaires. And in order to become an asset millionaire, you have to understand what is actually going on. And the Bitcoin price, you can see pumped up today and got above the critical rising channel 3.5 year support and resistance. It's sitting at current price 116,000 and change. You can see it actually bounced off of earlier since the last video. We were somewhere in here in the last video. You can see it's actually bounced again off that support. And now this weekend, what I would expect as the markets close now, I would expect it to just sort of trade sideways within a few $100 either side of this rising channel support. I wouldn't expect any big moves, but that is your major support level. And I would expect you to follow that this weekend. If we look at the Ethereum price, we've actually appreciated much higher. We had a big pump today going from where we were on Thursday here, we actually went up about 4% today. We're getting close to an all-time high. And this weekend, I would expect it to continue to trade up and sideways and approach this critical resistance level up there at about $4,700. You're sitting at about 47 even. I would think you would get to about the 4,750 to $4,900. But that is where I wouldn't expect craziness to happen this weekend, right? If we look at the XLM, same thing. We actually had a very good day in X. Wow, the crypto actually had a very good day on Friday before the market switched over today. I was busy at work today. I haven't really looked at the market since lunchtime, and these moves seem to be post lunch. Today, like we were talking about, the 43 cents in XLM might be the target because they run on a rhyme together, and you can see where the XRP is. It now actually broke above the 307 today, and I would expect it now over the weekend to maybe come down and retest the 307 from the top side that it broke it from the bottom side, because the last video that we made, we were sitting right in there somewhere, I believe, right? So we did have a late day rally, it appears, in the cryptocurrency market. I haven't looked at it since about the lunchtime hour today. So this is very interesting. We're going to get on top of this today. I wanted to give you a little bit of my thoughts on investing, the dollar depreciation, the US government, uh, and some of the history and education. That's more of what this video was. Like the channel, subscribe. I appreciate each and every one of you. Peace and love. The Rex Eyebrow J.